There are things that every 7 Days to Die player needs to know, and if you watch this video, you will be ready to play like a veteran. You'll go from dying on day 3 to completely dominating your first week with your eyes closed. I've packaged in the 11 most important tips you'll need in the first week, but I've got one in there that even veteran players sometimes miss, and it's the kind of mistake that can end a run in seconds. Tip number 1 addresses the first mistake almost every new player makes in the opening seconds, and it ruins your run for days before you even realize what you did wrong. So make sure you do this every time you start a new run because it has a huge knock-on effect throughout the first week and can even determine whether you survive Horde Night. You should always complete the tutorial. Yes, even if you already know how to do everything in it. When you finish the tutorial, redeem all the challenges in the challenge menu and come over to the skills tab, you'll see 4 free skill points just waiting to be spent right at the start of the game for like 2 minutes of effort. You can spend these points to make your life much easier, but it's no use to you if you don't know how to spend them. There are over 50 perks in 7 Days to Die, most of which are available right from the start of the game. And that's exactly the problem. Too many options with no direction means that new players almost always spread their points too thin and end up weak at everything when Horde Night hits. My advice? Pick a weapon and put everything into it. For example, take clubs here. Clubs are versatile. Medium damage, medium stamina, medium speed. The perfect medium. We want to put 1 point into Pummel Pete in the strength tree, but you have 3 more skill points and for some reason you can't unlock the next rank. Well, that's because each rank of each perk requires a higher level of its governing attribute, in this case strength. If you hover over this lock icon, it'll tell you how much you need. So we're going to spend 2 more skill points on strength, then unlock the next rank of clubs, and now we have much better damage, stamina, and a headshot boost with clubs, which will make killing those zombies much easier. 2 seconds of intentional thinking here, and you're already hitting harder than a lot of first time players will be by day 7. And make no mistake about it, the number 1 thing that's going to kill you in your first playthroughs of 7 Days to Die will be the zombies. So taking these combat perks is much better than taking passive abilities just to end up getting eaten by zombies anyway. Alright, you're armed and dangerous now. What do we do next? Well, that's where the trader comes in. It can be hard to know what to do at the start of the game. It's easy to just wander around blindly looking for towns and loot, but the trader can fast track you right to what you want. So go to the trader straight after the tutorial and do his initial starting quests. To do this, just follow the quest marker that pops up after you finish the tutorial and it'll take you straight to him. His compound is usually sitting just outside a major town, so you've got a huge amount of loot nearby. Do his jobs, earn some dukes, and spend them on food, water, and candy to gain situational combat boosts. And while you're in his compound, check the workstations, because they've got a chance to spawn Forge Ahead magazines, which are the most important magazines to collect every single playthrough. But while you're on the way there, you're probably going to run through a lot of wilderness, and there's something you should keep an eye out for. What if I told you that the cure to the zombie infection was actually sitting right in front of you? See, when you fight zombies, you have a chance to get this injury, the infection. Left unattended, it will kill you in 7 days. So you need a cure. The cure lives in this tree stump. Okay, maybe this tree stump. Okay, eventually, if you break enough of these tree stumps, you'll get one of 2 outcomes. The first, it'll just give you some honey. The other is that it'll give you some honey and spawn bees. If you get the bees, kill them with a melee weapon as soon as possible. But once you have the honey, eat it and this will cure up to 5% of your infection. A huge lifesaver in the first half of the game, and there are stumps literally everywhere in the forest. But how can we avoid getting infected in the first place? Well, the answer is of course to kill the zombies quicker. But how? Always aim for the head. Fighting zombies, especially multiple zombies at once, is a simple mathematical affair. If your stamina hits 0 before their health hits 0, you are in a lot of danger. Without stamina, you can't run away effectively, nor can you land a hit to knock the zombie back, leaving you open to getting punched in the face. However, zombies take double damage to the head, which puts that stamina health equation back in your favor. But there are a couple more things to consider here. Those points you put in strength back in tip 2, those increase your headshot damage with strength weapons, making that even more important, and the higher damage you deal, the more likely you are to cause a dismemberment. When a dismemberment happens to a head, the zombie of course dies instantly, and you may have guessed it, the strength boost we got earlier also boosts decap chance. And this advice becomes even more important when dealing with the next issue. We all know about the Blood Moon hordes in 7 Days to Die. They are the premise of the game. They come every 7 days, know your exact position, and will attack relentlessly until morning. However, they're not the only hordes you'll encounter in 7 Days to Die. Beware the Wandering Horde. Wandering hordes are roaming bands of zombies that will spawn in and run to your location. Unlike Blood Moon hordes, you can hide from them, and that is something you can exploit. Zombies that are part of these hordes have a higher chance of dropping the ever so valuable loot bags, but you have to survive them to make use of that. The key here is to know when the hordes spawn, and it can be somewhat predicted. See, there's a minimum cooldown of 12 hours for Wandering Horde spawns and a maximum of 24 hours, meaning you can basically predict them between twice a day and every day. When you hear them or see them coming, you want to take up an advantageous position like behind some spikes or in a makeshift fighting position like this and take advantage of their free loot. But don't go dying for it. These hordes can have up to 14 zombies at the same time, and some of them contain special zombies that can be really dangerous early on. If you're out in the streets at night with no way to properly protect yourself, the best thing you can do is run. Put as many obstacles between you and the horde as possible. Fences, guard railings, cars, whatever it is. These zombies take much longer to get over or around obstacles than you do, allowing you to make your escape. These aren't the only dangerous groups of zombies guarding precious loot that you need to know about though. Hey, you want some guns and ammo? You can always just steal from a police car whenever you need some. You didn't hear that from me though. Anyway, for the tip in the actual game, police cars are scattered all over the map, and inside you can find ammo, meds, guns, melee weapons, and even armor. The problem is, they're locked. Now, you might think a few swings of your stone axe is all it takes to get easy loot, right? Wrong. Breaking into a police car spawns a horde of pretty high-level zombies that will absolutely wreck you in the early game. Ferals, cops, whites, sometimes even radiated zombies. These will run at you in daylight, and your stone weapons will not scratch them. So what do? Well, you could smash it and run. Risky, especially if you don't have a vehicle, but if you pull it off, you can come back later once the zombies despawn. The better option is lockpicking. Not only is it safer without an alarm, because no zombies spawn, but it also gives you a loot boost on police car loot. Now, there's a bit of a myth in 7 Days to Die that lockpicking always gives better loot than bashing a container open. This is untrue in all cases except the police car. It's a unique mechanic for just this one container. Anyone telling you otherwise is a scoundrel. Now, a bit of a bonus tip here. You want to save your later biome cop cars until you're a much higher level. Particularly the Wasteland, you want to save to like level 80. The reason is that the loot scales with your level and the biome modifiers. Forest cop cars will never matter because you'll have to be level 250 to get the best gear out of them. But Wasteland and Snow cop cars, those are genuinely very valuable containers, so you'll want to keep those till as late into the game as possible to get the best gear from them. But cop cars aren't the only thing in this game that'll lure you in with good loot, only to punish you for it. There are hundreds of locations in 7 Days to Die. We call them points of interest, or POIs. They come in 6 tiers, from tier 0 to tier 5. Now, tier 0s mostly exist for performance reasons, and 90% of the time you can just ignore them. They have nothing worth your time and there's rarely any zombies in them. But as you go up, the loot goes up, and so does that threat. As a new player in your first week, I'd strongly recommend sticking to tier 1s and 2s, which are marked by the 1 or 2 skulls on your HUD. You won't get great loot, but you'll actually be able to clear them without dying. Now, tier 3s can work, but they've got a locked container at the end. Unlike cop cars, these are safe to smash open, but with a starting stone axe, you're probably looking at hitting that thing 200 times, which is rarely worth it, given how loot is tethered to your level in this game. Stick to tier 1s and 2s unless you've got some convenient lockpicks, or until you get some good mining equipment. The easiest way to find appropriate POIs and not waste any time looking at every single POI in the game and looking at the skulls is to use the trader from tip number 3. He gives you jobs that match his tier level. Tier 1 quests go to tier 1 POIs, tier 2 quests go to tier 2 POIs, and so on. You unlock higher tiers by doing more of the previous tier at the trader. If you follow his jobs in the order you're meant to do them in, you'll generally never wander into something that will just absolutely annihilate you. But even in tier 1s and 2s, there's an enemy type that can spawn that you absolutely must be aware of. Or you might just end up losing everything. Zombie dogs are the bane of your existence. They're fast and they can often be hard to hit, and they themselves have a very quick hit animation that allows them to inflict injuries and infections very quickly. Noticing them before they notice you is the easiest way to make sure you can deal with them. Keep an eye out for dog kennels and cages. These are environmental warnings that a dog could be nearby. Now this isn't 100%, especially for later POIs, but early on they're usually pretty close together. Another way to notice them first is to listen for the telltale collar jingle effect. If you hear that, they are already aggroed to you and you need to start running, preferably up a ladder, because dogs can't climb those and they're bad at jumping, so even without a ladder, getting high up is a smart idea. Now that you've avoided instantaneous dog-based death, how do you actually kill them? Well, ideally you shoot them in the head, and if you grab the pipe machine gun from the trader's first buried supply mission back in tip 3, now would be the time to use it. A few well-placed headshots without panicking and the dog will be dealt with easily. If you make the mistake of spraying and praying, that dog is going to survive and you're going to be reloading for 3 to 5 business days, opening you up to a lot of damage if you're not careful. Now dogs are terrifying because of their speed, but here's the thing. Every night in this game, pretty much all the zombies become that fast, but that's the least of your problems after dark. See, at night, zombies run faster, much faster. This is enough of a problem on its own, but it's also when feral zombies spawn in the wild. And I'm going to keep it real with you, a feral zombie will probably just kill you early on as a new player. You have double health, double damage, and are resistant to decapitations, and are just generally a bad time to fight. As such, stealth is key at night. Ideally, you want to spend your first few nights mining, crafting, and reinforcing your base as much as possible to keep gaining XP and of course avoid boredom, if nothing else. You want to move slowly, avoid light, and if you see these junk piles on the floor in your starter house, break them before you accidentally walk into them. Walking over these is a good way to make a loud noise and attract zombies to your location. Now a great thing to consider about that is that you can throw rocks. If you equip a rock and throw it while holding down the attack button, you'll distract zombies to wherever it lands, and if you use this efficiently, you can keep zombies away from your base at night and give you some breathing room to actually get something done. Before we move on to the final tip, the one I warned you about way back at the start that often gets advanced players killed, I just want to say that if you're finding this video helpful, I would greatly appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. You see, I have 4 more of these videos planned for the next few weeks, and then I'm going to make a mega compilation of them with even more tips added to it as wildcards. So if you want to be absolutely blasted with 7 Days to Die tips for the next 1 to 2 months, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 100k by the end of the year, and each and every one of you helps us reach that goal. Okay, so that final run-saving tip. On the morning of day 2, you are probably going to get your first taste of something lethal. Rain. Stop laughing. Rain can be really deadly in this game. You see, when it rains and you're outside, you get wet. Stop laughing. When you get wet, you lower your core temperature, aka get cold. When you're cold, you move more slowly and you need to eat more to restore your health and stamina. What this all means is that it's harder for you to run away, and you can get the hungry debuff, worsening your mobility even more. But there's even more. See, in 7 Days to Die, rain counts as a storm, which means the zombies get a speed and perception boost. Zombies move faster plus players move slower equals player get killed. But it's kind of subtle. You might not quite notice that movement penalty until you really turn and try to run, only to realize you're basically stuck in place. The rule is simple. Avoid rain, especially at night when the temperatures are already dropping and the ferals are out. But otherwise, how do we avoid getting cold? Well, the obvious answer is clothes, but the gear you'll find early on does almost nothing for temperature anyway. Your best bet is of course to just stay inside, use the time to clear a nearby building, get some mining and crafting done, all that sort of thing. But if you genuinely have to go out, do not leave without a torch. Equipping one gives you 20% temperature resistance, which is enough to give you a chance. Rain is something that kills experienced players because they don't respect it, and you can go into your first week understanding that rain is kind of a silent killer in 7 Days to Die, and that should be the most important things you need to know to survive your first week up until the Horde Night. And the next video is going to cover your first Horde Night, and it's going to teach you how to prepare for it and how to survive it, because that's the next most common place for new players to end up dead in their first playthroughs. When that's out, it'll be on screen now. See you there.